Hey, welcome back. So today we're going to answer the question such as that I got from you guys, which is, Leland, should I invest in real estate as a college student? And honestly, the answer is absolutely, right? Absolutely. And so I'll tell you about how I got started. That's actually how I got started, was in college. But yeah, the answer to that question is absolutely, you should. And I would actually encourage people to start investing earlier. Like if you can start investing at the age of 16, I would say do it. If you can, at the age of 16, you let your parents know, hey, listen, I want to start owning property. And the reason I'm saying that is not just because that's how I personally got started with investing in real estate, but you should also do it because at that age, you're able to take risk that you can recover from quickly. Now, I know this is not every single, 18-year-old, right, that starts college, but most individuals who start college at the age of 18 after graduating high school, most don't have the responsibilities such as like car payments, or they're not putting children through tuition, or most of them aren't married, right? So you don't have a lot of additional financial responsibilities, which means that you can properly focus on your financial future and be willing to actually make the investment. Also, as a college student, you will have the flexibility, or I call it a superpower really, of basically operating on less sleep. We all know how college students can be, right? So sometimes you can party on a Thursday night until like 5 a.m. the next day, it'll be Friday. You might have an exam at 8 a.m. I've been there. And you ace the exam, right? So I guess what I'm getting at is you have this superpower of being able to utilize a very small amount of sleep, and it doesn't truly impact you, okay? And I would say use that to your benefit. So instead of wasting it on parties, right, in that example, a better use of that ability would be to research various things in reference to real estate. It would be to study purchase agreements. It would be to look at certain markets, et cetera, okay? Now, when I got started, what happened is it was actually my sophomore year of college. I had finally read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and shout out to my mom, because my mom actually gave me that book when I was in 5th grade. That kind of shows you how old I am. But when I was in 5th grade, my mom actually gave me the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. And unfortunately, as a rebellious child at that time, I chose not to read that book. It took me until I was a sophomore in college, and I was like, wow, I wish I read this book sooner, right? And one of the reasons that I wish I would have read that book sooner is because at the age of 18, you can actually qualify for what's called a FHA mortgage. And I guess we can talk about that in another video. If you want me to tell you about that, just put it in the comments. But you can qualify for FHA mortgage, which means that essentially as you're going to college, you could technically own a duplex, triplex, or quad, fourplex, and you can actually lease those units or bedrooms to other college students. And that additional $2,000, $3,000, or $4,000 that those units bring in could actually be used as money to do other things, or you could actually use that money to go ahead and invest in another fourplex or another duplex or another house, right? And you can do that by starting young. And so if you're 18, just think about the compound of this. You're 18 and it costs you $3,000, or maybe you get the money from your parents for the down payment for the property, right? Because it's cheaper for you to buy a property while in college, and it's easier to qualify, to be honest, than it would be for you to actually pay room and board. Let that sink in, right? It's cheaper in many places for you to buy a property within a college town than for you to pay room and board for 4 consecutive years, okay? So just imagine that, let that sink in. And imagine if you took that model and you looked at how the FHA loan worked, you figured it out, and you found out that you could refinance every 6 months, and so you could buy another one of those properties every 6 months or every 12 months. That means if you graduated in 4 years, which I did not, but if you graduated in 4 years, that means you could actually have 4 different properties. What that also means is that you would, for your assets, your asset column, that means you also have over $1 million plus of assets on your balance sheet. Why is that? Because the average house in the United States right now is valued somewhere around like $350,000. So technically by your third house, you would have already had $1 million worth of assets, right? And you could have accumulated that well before graduation. And so now imagine all of the options or the freedom that you would have preparing for graduation, knowing that you already have $3, $4, $5, $10,000 a month coming in through passive income. And it gives you a sense of freedom and stability to where if you wanted to backpack throughout Europe for a year and decide, before you decide about going into corporate America, you can make that decision for yourself. Or if you wanted to become a vlogger, right, for 12 months after graduation, you would have the freedom to do that. In addition to that, I mean, you would obviously have to have a management team or property manager, and which I would encourage you to do. And by doing that, you now have hands-off passive income. So long story short, to answer your question, which is, Leland, should I start investing in real estate in college? The answer to that is yes. Now, there are different types of ways that you can invest in real estate, right? Because there are different ways of investing. You have people that like to fix and flip, which I consider that to be a speculation and not truly an investment. I consider investments to be something that you would actually hold or add to a balance sheet and it becomes an asset. It's like kind of like someone telling me like that they invest in stocks, but really they're like a day trader. That's how I kind of view people who fix and flip houses. Okay, someone who has like rentals or Airbnbs or Verbos, right? I consider that more as an investment. Someone who is doing Airbnb or rentals without owning the property in their name, maybe they're doing what's called like arbitrage, for example. I would still consider that somewhat of an investing as well, because what they're doing really is they're really, if you think about it, they're operating through contracts, right? Which is basically also what wholesaling is. Wholesaling is your ability to assign or give or sell contract agreements. That's what wholesaling is, okay? And so if someone's doing Airbnb arbitrage, for example, they don't own the home, but they have a contract agreement with the owner of the home, and they have a contract agreement with Airbnb, for example, or Verbo. And so they're working within that contract. And in both cases, you can still make it fairly passive as well, okay? So you have to decide what type of, and what facet of real estate investing will you be, right? I know that's like, even for younger people right now, people are saying like, hey, I'm thinking about, investing in shares of real estate stock, right? And I wouldn't necessarily consider that to be investing per se. I would say for real estate investing, you need to, one of the biggest components of that is you want to have the taxable benefit of owning the real estate. If you're not going to get the taxable benefit of owning and or operating the real estate, then it's kind of pointless. Because the whole point of investing in real estate is really for the tax incentives, it's the tax benefits. So going back to the question, you should start young, right? The younger the better. But specifically, you need to decide what facet of real estate that you're going to be getting. I first started off with wholesaling, and then through wholesaling, I got into creative financing. And then with wholesaling and with creative financing, I then got into rentals. Okay, that's how I started. So what was happening for me was, in college, I would be able to do a deal, and let's say I get $7,000. I would then find someone who was behind on their mortgage let's say $5,000, I would catch that person up on their mortgage, and they would have an agreement with me where they might sell the house to me, right, on the contract, whatever like that. And so that became seller financing. So now I had a rental, and I was generating money for basically selling other contracts through wholesaling. You have to decide what works best for you and what type of time horizon you're on, how much you want to invest as far as your time, and then maybe even how much you want to invest as far as your money. When I was in college, not only was I reading a lot of books, as I told you guys already, I also I actually started taking courses to become a realtor. And thank God I didn't follow through with that, but I would show up for the class and really try to get as much as possible out of it. I invested into a lot of seminars that came to my college town. They had various seminars on real estate that came to my college town, and I would take the extra money that I had, and I invest to actually be in the room and try to learn as much as I could. Like, I still have some of those same workbooks, and so you have to decide, like, how are you going to invest in yourself? You're going to invest your time, you're going to invest your money, and then what does that look like for you? So for me, the weekends and going to a weekend event or weekend seminar that would be downtown in that local city at the time, that was great for me, right? Going to the embassy or the hotel suites, whatever, and networking with other people, going to local real estate events or association meetings and trying my best to network with people, going to real estate meetings at the country club or at the buffet, right? And networking with people, that was still a way of me learning. Even if I didn't have all the money to invest in whatever they were pitching me at the time, I still had to decide that I would at least take the action and try to implement what they were telling me to do. And so you have to decide, what does that look like for you? And the great thing is, if you are that younger person, now is the best time to want to go after your dreams, but also take some risks. Make sure to calculate it. Like, don't take crazy, ridiculous risks, but be willing to be risky, especially if you don't have to. You don't have a lot of other obligations. Okay. So I hope that answered the question. I do want to let you guys know again that if you're looking for a free course that you can actually take at your own pace, all you have to do is go to www.yourfirst10kwholesaling.com/free. All right. You enter in your email information there, and you'll be sent a login, your own login to a course, and it will give you the ins and outs. And if you want more hands-on help, reach out to us, and we'll be able to help you out. Okay. So with that being said, let me know in the comments if you have any other questions or other videos we may make or things we may go over more in depth, and I will see you on the next one.